Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And it's time for our piping hot AEW Revolution 2025 star ratings. That's right. Unlike those other guys who, by the time they get around to their star ratings, it's going to be damn near April, Larson.
You got that right. It's going to be closer to April than it would be the beginning of March, or about the same. Whatever. Anyways, let's get into it, Steve.
Let's get into it. It's so hot.
So hot. First match, MJF versus Hangman Adam Page. Steve, what'd you give this match?
Thought it was an awesome match. Thought this was phenomenal. Loved it. Loved the heat. Loved the sense of urgency. I gave it 4.25 stars, man. Love this match.
Look at this. Right off the bat.
Kotras aligned. Did we do a mind meld before this episode of star ratings?
I guess so. We signed on and just said, remember. 4.25. Yeah, this match was tons of fun. I feel like over the last year or so, Hangman is a 4.25 star match machine.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like he can show up in the arena and put on a 4.25 star match. That's
For
his
sure,
floor right now.
Yeah.
Good creative stuff. And it's interesting to see that MJF didn't actually, I don't think he tried to cheat during this match, really. You didn't see the ring?
It's a weird thing where he's trying to prove a point. And hey, guess what? He suffered the consequences because of that. But morally, I think he comes out on the right side of things here. But the people still boo him because he's a piece of crap.
Yeah, good stuff. Next up for the TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné retains against Momo Watanabe.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this match was really good too. Here's the thing: 7 of the 9 matches on this card were very good, excellent, fantastic.
Yeah.
2 matches, not so much. This is one of the matches that was very good, fantastic. I gave it 4 stars. I thought there was a lot of good stuff there, even though the outcome wasn't necessarily in doubt. I thought the action was good enough to keep me invested in it. Yeah, 4 stars. I thought this was a lot of fun. People talk a lot of crap about Mercedes. Oh, this run in AEW hasn't been very good. They haven't been watching her matches, seemingly. Yeah. Because apart from the Brit match, and I think the second Sheeta match, every match she's had in AEW has been awesome.
Yeah. I gave this 3 3/4 because I thought it was a really, really, really good match. Not much of a build, and I do think that Mercedes as a character she needs somebody. I feel like she needs the yin to her yang. I thought that was going to be Willow, and it's not that. And I'm not going to quibble over bringing in a high-quality opponent for Stardom. I did feel like there was something a little bit, I don't know what it was, a chemistry thing, I don't know. I thought it was a really good match, but I thought there was something just sort of lacking here. And I don't know what it was. It was one of those things I can't really put my finger on it. But I think that would have helped the lackluster build to this match, where they sort of bring in somebody they know they're going to get a good match from. And I feel like it was lacking that oomph thing. I don't know what it was. I guess Momo usually is a heel in Stardom.
Oh.
And maybe her playing the babyface role here was that thing. I don't know. I read that on Twitter.
Well, also, too, if there's not much of a build and not much of a story, there's not as much for the performers to kind of latch on to build the match.
That's true.
So you're relying strictly on good match.
Yeah. But no, I think Mercedes is great. Just thought there was a little something that I was like, oh, wow, I don't necessarily see it with like a 4-star. But I thought 3 3/4. I thought it was a really good, technically speaking, it was a really good match.
It was a really good match. Next up, another really good match. Swerve defeated Ricochet. What'd you give this one, Steve?
I gave the same as the first one. I gave it 4.25. I think the story here has been really, really strong. I think the match was really strong. Kind of a lot of parallels between this and the stuff going on with Hangman and MJF. Just really strong story stuff, really strong character stuff. And we got the right outcome in the end. So, yeah, I thought this was pretty awesome stuff. There was some intrigue with Prince Nana. Went a little bit soap opera-y with that, but it's all good. I thought it was really cool stuff. 4.25.
I went a little bit higher. I went 4.5. I really enjoyed this match. Character stuff, top notch. The Nana stuff seemed to be maybe a little bit over the top initially. Seemed like a swerve though. Like it was a plan maybe from Swerve and Nana to have Ricochet kind of let his guard down a little bit. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was fantastic. 4.5 stars. Great stuff.
There you go.
Next match, more great stuff for the Continental Championship. You got Brody King challenging Okada for that title. Okada retains. I feel like there's a lot of parallels between this match and the TBS championship match, and that not a lot of build. Outcome not really in doubt. That being said, I thought the performances by both wrestlers were top-notch.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a great showing for Brody. Okada's one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
You got to hope at some point they're going to give Brody some measure of push because he's super over. He's a fantastic wrestler.
Yeah, you got that right.
I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this.
I gave this 4 as well. I thought that the one difference between this, because you're right, there's some parallels between this and the TBS match. Outcome never in doubt. Just sort of throwing this one together. I think the main difference between this and the TBS title match is that you could see this match on Kazuchika Okada's body. This guy was beat to hell. And honestly, when you dumb things down, when you keep things pretty simple in terms of Brody King and his predilection for just violence, that's a really, really easy story to eat. And boy, did he eat this match. This dude just beat the living shit out of Okada. Yeah. Okada, he had like 5 different shades of red on him, man.
Yeah, something on his arm too. I don't even know how he got that.
Yeah, it was like under his elbow pad started bleeding. How does that happen? I don't know. But yeah, no, I thought this was just a good, meaty, chunky G1 type match. Yep. 4 stars.
Let's talk the tag title match. You got Hurt Syndicate defeating the Outrunners to retain the title. Steve, what'd you give this one?
Man. Let's see here. This match went 8 minutes and 40 seconds. This match should have been a 3-minute match. Should have been Hurt Syndicate just squashing these clowns. I gave it 2 stars because, like, why is this here? What? Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't think that the Outrunners should have been getting any offense on Hurt Syndicate. I get it. People like them. It's a fun shtick, you know. They lampoon the Predator handshake thing, and that's all cute and well. Give these guys some dimension, then I'll start paying close attention. But there's 0 dimension to the Outrunners. Hurt Syndicate should have dispatched these clowns. This should have been the Murder Machines match. Yeah, no, I gave us 2 stars.
I went 2 1/4. Like, in terms of what they set out to do, try to establish the Outrunners, I guess, as credible threats to the tag titles. I guess it was I think they set out to accomplish something, and they did what they set out to accomplish too. Was it the right story to tell here? I don't think so, because I feel like if you're going to tell that story, the match has to be a lot better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're not going to do that, then tell the story of the Outrunners getting squashed, but having the heart to last longer than 2 minutes. You know what I mean? You could have had a really cool moment where, like, they're getting their asses destroyed and beat up, and they look at each other and they do the Predator handshake as the thing, like, all right, we're going down together. Yeah, they get wrecked. Yeah. And then afterwards, you have that story beat where you see in their faces, all right, this is the moment we're going to decide that we're going to redouble our efforts and start on the path of becoming tag champs. Like, this could have been a match where it added dimension to their characters. Instead, it was a serviceable, for some reason, competitive effort, but the match as a total, largely forgettable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, even if you look at the way they got this number 1 contendership with a roll-up, and then they had a competitive match against the premier athletes, this has been, look, man, I don't know what story they should. I like what you just said, and I don't know exactly what story they should necessarily tell with the Outrunners. This ain't it.
No, because it doesn't benefit them.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Like, if you have a story where they show their gumption and, all right, this is going to launch them to a different level, makes sense. If you have this match and it's competitive and it's spectacular, all right, they're getting over because of their wrestling ability. This match did neither of those things.
Yeah, give us a story where this Hurt Syndicate's like, you guys don't belong here. And then the Outrunners have to prove that they do belong here. And it just didn't. None of it really fit. Yeah.
No. Toni Storm defeated Mariah May to retain the AEW Women's Championship. Spectacular. Emotional. Physical. At moments brutal. I can't think of a better way for this story to pay off. They took everything they had done previous to a whole other level.
Yeah.
And put on, without a doubt, I thought the best match of the card. I gave this 5 stars. I was riveted the whole time. I appreciated the creativity in terms of what they were doing, in terms of like, the hardcore stuff. They did the fists in the broken glass like the movie Kickboxer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great. 5 stars.
I gave it 5.25. This was the perfect match. And here's the thing. They did it in less than 13 minutes.
Yep.
When you look at, and I don't want to like juxtapose this necessarily with negativity. When you look at what was accomplished in the main event and the 2 matches prior to that, where they were not able to accomplish the same amount of emotional impact in virtually 3 times the amount or 2 times the amount of time. Man, talk about like an essay for efficiency here. This match, and granted, they had the benefit of such an emotional story heading into this. It's been probably in terms of a 2-person feud, probably the best story AEW's ever told.
Mm-hmm.
You could put MJF and Punk up there, Hangman and Swerve can go up there, but I think in terms of where there's equity between both performers, this has probably been pound for pound the best story they've ever told. The payoff was absolutely magnificent. There's been a lot of chatter about the word cinema being used, and both in a literal and metaphorical sense. You can apply that term here. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Should have ended the show. Match of the year contender.
Absolutely.
And they did it all in less than 13 minutes. If they were given, and I don't think they needed 5 more minutes. I don't think they needed any more time. They did it in the exact amount of time they could have told it. I have full faith that if these 2 people were given 5 more minutes, it probably could have just even ascended even higher.
Yeah.
But just hats off. This was a perfect match. 5.25 stars.
Fantastic. Let's talk Kenny Omega defeating Takeshita for that international championship. They have so many belts in AEW. Steve, what'd you give this one?
I gave it 4.25. It's too long. I have no doubt that Kenny and Takeshita, as we've seen in the past, I think, this was a 28-minute match. They could have probably have done this a bit more effectively in 18 minutes and did something that was just absolutely spectacular. I don't think you need, it was a really, really, really good match. It could have been an excellent match if you shave 8 minutes off the damn thing, because sometimes you just stick around too long.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just stick around too long. And if you're not going to do what the guys up next did with that extra time, then what are you even doing? I gave it 4.25 stars. It's Kenny and Takeshita. Their floor is 4.25, and I think this was the floor.
I went slightly higher. I went 4.5. I thought the work was fantastic. Yes, it was a bit long. But apart from, maybe 5 to 7 extra minutes of the match, there's nothing about it here to quibble about in terms of the story being told, performances, the physicality of it. Apart from it being maybe a little long, I thought it was fantastic. 4.5. Let's talk cage match. Will Ospreay defeating Kyle Fletcher in about, a half hour?
It was 29 minutes.
Will Ospreay is like the most maximalist wrestler in wrestling right now. Like, he wants to give you everything he has every match, and I appreciate that. Instances like this, I feel like it's a tad too much. It's sort of like the tag match he and Kenny had in Australia. It's like, you shave 5 minutes off that match, it's way better. Mm-hmm. There's too many false finishes at the end, Mm-hmm. And again, I appreciate that Will is willing to give everything in every match he has, especially the pay-per-view high-profile ones. And it sounds like I'm going to give this a low score. I'm not. I'm just trying to explain why I didn't give it like highest possible, because you look at the state of the two of them after this match, they beat the hell out of each other. The physicality of this match was off the charts. They were doing some crazy shit. Spanish fly off the top of the cage. And even though it's supposed to be the culmination of a blood feud, I felt like at its core, from an emotional standpoint for me, there's a little something missing here. So I didn't go 5 stars. I went 4.75, because based on what they put their bodies through and the quality performances, I can't give anything less than that. But there was just that little something for me missing from this, and I couldn't give it 5 stars.
I did give it 5 stars. I didn't go quite as high as Tony and Mariah, because I'm a guy that likes efficiency. And I think that Look, if this had main evented anything that didn't have Tony and Mariah on it, it might have, the placement might have, led me to give it a bit higher. I think for me the emotionality was, for me everything was there. I hate to, and again, this is a 5-star match. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. It was awesome. It was every great adjective you could come up with. And I thought the emotion was there. My only small quibble that I think sends it from going up a little higher was it did seem like it went into overtime once it had already achieved like several overtimes.
Yeah. And
look, I can appreciate the Spanish Fly from the top, but a personal thing of mine is when two guys are coordinating their move up there.
Yeah.
Then it sort of takes me out of the match.
I think that's what I'm talking about, where you have, obviously, the moments where Fletcher's yelling at Ospreay, I fucking hate you. And yeah.
I love that.
That's great stuff.
Fletcher's a fucking star, man. He's great.
They're both fantastic. But
Proto
that's the kind
star.
of stuff I'm talking about is they're up there and they're trying to pull off this spot that's crazy, but that, and they're trying to be safe about it. So it takes 30 seconds to make sure that they're in a position where they feel like they can deliver that move safely. But at the same time, you're in this intense match and they're taking a timeout for safety's sake, which they should do. But in terms of the emotion of the match, it takes you out of it a little bit. And I just thought there was a couple instances like that where, like, all right, they're setting something up, and I appreciate that. And then when it goes on a little long, I feel like it's like, all right, come on. I want the payoff. I'm ready for the payoff. Pay it off.
When they introduced thumbtacks like 25 minutes deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, now we're doing this. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. So I guess I shouldn't quibble about. I think the length hurt the emotional impact of it. I think that's what I'm trying to get across. Not that it lacked emotion, because it did, but it felt like the length took away from that.
I don't disagree with that. I think you can do too much.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm always going to applaud effort and ambition, and
they deliver in that regard. Yeah, absolutely.
It felt like a big blow off match, and it was a big blow off match. The whole setting up the Spanish Fly thing, I think we're entering into like a postmodern age of wrestling with Will Ospreay, where it's like, okay, everybody, we know what's going on here. Let us do this shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I gave it 5 stars. I gave it an incredibly high rating.
Yeah.
But it's like, look at what you could do with 13.
I know. I know.
So.
All right.
Oh wow, I'm dying to know what you gave the main event.
All right,
John
you're going to go
Moxley.
first here. We're going to talk about John Moxley retaining the AEW World Title against Cope. It was Christian though who passed out because he interjected himself, made it a 3-way bout. So I guess it's Mox versus Cope versus Christian. Steve, what'd you give this one?
I saw a take on Twitter today and I'm sorry, not Twitter, on Blue Sky. So it was like the crazy positive AEW people are on Blue Sky. And it was something along the lines of, there was so much violence on the rest of the card. Moxley has accomplished his goal, right? And like, I think this take was he on Dynamite, he should open up the briefcase and say, "I've done my job." And I'm like, wow, what a terrible take. Because here's the thing, like the other match that I guess you could be like, oh, okay, yeah, Mox's influence is rubbing off here, should be the Swerve Ricochet match because they're next in line for a title shot. But they didn't bleed, and it's not like they brought the extreme Mox level of violence that, for example, Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher brought. But it's like they haven't really been affected by Mox. Like, he hasn't given them a sit-down conversation, nor has he done the same for Tony and Mariah or Kenny and Takeshita. They're just in their own little world. They didn't bleed. It wasn't like a Mox match. And so I think that's kind of a silly take. He's on Mox Island right now, and I hope that working with Swerve, it'll be more of a Swerve Island situation, because this ain't it. It just isn't. That finish was, they've done kind of a Money in the Bank thing before with like MJF when he won the big chip, and he waited to cash that in. Well, this is more of a Money in the Bank thing,
because
right?
it's more the opportunistic cash in as opposed to
when is Christian going to do it?
Yeah.
Christian time is come and gone. as any type of interesting character. It was 2 years ago or a year, whatever it was. Feels like it's 2 years ago, regardless of what it is. And for them to use their first real Money in the Bank opportunity for Christian to lose, I think is an epically bad move. Putting that thing on Christian in the first place, I think was a bad move because by the time he won it 6 months ago, his time had come and gone, and that was obvious. And you and I were both surprised that they put this on Christian. To use that to protect Cope is a choice as well. This match was long. It was 26 minutes long. 26 and change. What was this? 26:35. So it was closer to 27 than it was 26. Didn't need to be.
No.
I don't need a 1998 WWF match that goes 26 minutes with these two. I gave it 1 3/4 stars because, man, oh man, this should not have main evented. The story's cooked. And when I say cooked, I mean that in a bad way. Washed, whatever you want to use. Too long, protecting Cope, killing Christian's Money in the Bank. None of it's interesting. They had 27 minutes. They didn't even milk what's Yuta going to do. They just introduced that in Sacramento.
Yeah.
They didn't even milk that moment.
No. You know, they managed to provide a scintilla of intrigue into this Death Rider story over the last couple weeks.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Enough so I wasn't completely and utterly frustrated when Death Rider segments would happen. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, how is this going to play out? Well, how it played out was almost the worst way possible in every regard. You mentioned the Yuta aspect of it. Where's the intrigue? Mm-hmm. You know, there's like 10 different ways they can go about that where they could continue the thread of, is Yuta really invested in the Death Riders? Even if he just accidentally hits Mox with that knee plus. That's way more interesting than looking at him each and just hitting it on Cope.
And
Cope pulls
he didn't even,
Mox in the way, something like that.
He wasn't even like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? He just walked in there, looked at them both, and did it.
Yeah. What little shred of interest I had now in this Death Rider story because of what they'd been doing the last few weeks is completely pissed away. Seemingly the sentiment regarding this match that I've seen across the board is that this match sucked.
Mm-hmm, sure.
The execution sucked. The match itself was long, ponderous, boring, devoid of any intrigue.
Move, walk around, move, do a move, walk around.
There's a ref bump. Mox sees it. Where's the urgency? He's selling arm for 10 minutes.
The craziest thing for me was, let me ask you this. Was this a no DQ match?
No.
Bryce Remsburg was less than a foot away from Christian annihilating Cope with that contract. Staring at him while he does it. And then Christian says, I'm going to cash in. And Bryce Remsburg, okay, sure, we'll do that. What?
Yeah.
Now, if he had called the DQ and Christian cashed in at that point and made it a triple threat, like if the match is over, and then it's like, explain this shit.
Yeah.
But it's just they turn the match, which should have been a DQ, into a triple threat. It's that kind of stuff.
I gave it 1 star. This was horse shit. It was awful.
Yeah.
About, 40% of the way through this, I'd said I would give it 2 3/4 because I thought, all right, then let's continue doing this and I'll have the finish and it'll be boring and not terribly inspired, but at least it'll be competent in terms of the story they're trying to tell. I would get it.
Yeah.
No, it went down the toilet. It went down the toilet fast. Like the best parts, I thought 2 fun things happened during this match is after Jay White hits Copeland with the briefcase, his reaction was really good.
Yeah, it was.
And then after the match, when Swerve takes out Mox and bunch of security with that stomp off the from the stands, of course that's great because Swerve's great. Otherwise, this whole entire segment, this whole match was horse shit. It was garbage. Some people have been saying this is the worst pay-per-view main event in AEW history.
I don't know. I heard that as well, and the other counter. Obviously, there's been other counters. There's like the exploding death match.
Well, the match up until the botch at the end was fine. It was good.
And the botch was hilariously entertaining, so
Yeah.
like I'm fine with that. MJF beating Jay White in 30 minutes on one leg was ridiculous, but the match itself wasn't bad.
Yeah. It was ridiculous, but yeah, the match itself was
This
decent.
might actually be the worst.
In terms of the quality of the match itself and how the story played out, it was awful. Awful.
Probably,
1 star.
yeah.
I actually seriously consider giving this 0.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't a sloppy match wrestling wise. Like, it was as boring and dull as it was.
Which might be more egregious.
I know, because this just felt like they played it way too safe.
Yeah.
And then, you have this show where 7 of the 8 previous matches were all exciting and well paced, and it wasn't like there was lack of selling or lack of psychology in any of them.
Yeah.
There was. And so they went out here and decided to put on a match from like 1985.
Yeah.
Plodding and boring. No, that's not how you do it. That's not how you main event this show. This could have been. Here's the thing: is like this could have been seen as arguably the best pay-per-view AEW's ever done if they nail that landing.
Yeah, I know.
But much of what people are going to remember are the kind of like the final images of that show. And you have a match this bad, bringing down the reputation of the entirety of the pay-per-view. It's a gut punch. And you got to look in the mirror and evaluate, Tony Khan, how you're approaching these shows. If this is the stuff you're main eventing your show with, as opposed to Tony Storm, Mariah May.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about that a lot more in the podcast today. So be sure to check that out over at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Let us know what you gave all these matches, your star ratings, in the comments below. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. We'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.